Throughout this class, one idea that really stuck with me is how would music history look if technology had developed differently? Instead of taking this project on a journey of what-ifs, I wanted to use it to better understand how technology actually shaped access and how electronic sound slowly moved from universities into the hands of individual creators. Daniel Warner's Live Wires takes a look at early tape machines and discusses how, in the 1950s, these machines were heavy, expensive, and meant for radio stations and labs, not for everyday musicians. Many of these machines weighed over 50 pounds and required trained operators to use. As far as factors that were keeping sound experimentation institutionalized, we have physical size and expenses restricting access. But beyond that, these first electronic sounds and experiments weren't happening in a music studio at all. They were happening in Columbia University's radio station. Ussachevsky was working with Peter Maucy, who wasn't a composer at all. He was an engineering student. That alone highlights how technical and institution-dependent this work still was. Another testament to just how early stage and institutional this technology was is Henry Cowell's response to Ussachevsky's first tape presentation. He described the pieces as, quote, experiments, frankly, end quote, and even signed off with, quote, the pitfalls are many, we wish him well, end quote. To me, it wasn't dismissive, it just shows that electronic sound was still a technical experimental medium living inside university spaces. Finally, electronic music became even more tied to institutions with the creation of the Columbia-Princeton Electronic Music Center. The center was funded by a major Rockefeller grant and housed the room-sized RCA Mark II synthesizer, which we'll hear a composition by Babbitt for in just a moment. Robert Morris explains that Milton Babbitt helped create Princeton's PhD in composition and music theory, which further solidified the role of electronic music composition inside the academic world. The first major shift in technology access appears in the early 1960s. Steve Reich was absolutely shaped by institutions, but he wasn't dependent on institutional technology the way Babbitt was. Instead of a room-sized synthesizer, Reich used portable tape recorders he had access to through freelance work, including the Police interview that later became Come Out. I think Come Out even hints at a cultural shift where electronic sound isn't only an academic musical experiment, but it becomes a way to amplify real-world voices, literally and politically. In California, the San Francisco Tape Music Center offered a completely different studio model. Warner describes their center as a non-academic public access space where composers like Reich and Oliveros created with modest equipment. And this marks one of the first times electronic sound making happened outside of university settings. Furthermore, the transistor completely changed everything. Synthesizers didn't need entire rooms anymore. Warner says the new voltage-controlled systems could fit in a pair of suitcases. Plus, they weren't just university projects. Moog built his early systems in a storefront, and Buchla built his for the San Francisco Tape Music Center. Once synthesizers became portable, electronic sound officially left the university. Turntables became instruments that allowed artists to use the tape techniques that once existed only in radio stations and Princeton labs in their home spaces. Kool Herc and Grandmaster Flash employed these techniques, which helped lay the groundwork for hip-hop. Through researching the timeline and seeing the evolution of electronic music technology, I understand music history differently. I have an appreciation for the thorough fight to institutionalize and therefore cement music as a serious research topic, and I have an equal appreciation and understanding of the shift that brought electronic music into everyday hands and created the music world we live in today. I have to wonder, how will technology continue to expand access, and how will it continue to shape and radically change the music we hear every day?